And welcome back again. Yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander of Keeping It Honest. We don't just keep it real, we don't just keep it simple, we keep it honest. We thank you for supporting our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can email yours truly. It's parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. Telephone number 216 702 3718, 216 702 3718. You can leave voicemail. You can text me and let me know how we're doing. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we would not be doing this. You watch the show, you know we try to do things on the left, we try to do things on the right. At the end, hopefully, you decide. You may not like what we give you, but we're giving you the truth, and hopefully you'll respect us after that. For instance, keeping it honest, one of the most things out now, who's going to be president? The scenarios. That debate, crazy debate. Joe Biden didn't do so good. Some people say, excuse me, sound like Joe Biden coughing now. Pardon me. Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me is something that Donald Trump would say. Joe Biden, where we thought maybe he shouldn't run, he should drop out. Some people are saying maybe he should drop out even before the nomination. Oh my God. Where at one point we thought he wouldn't even last 4 more years, he may not last even 4 more months. I look at this and I've been getting comments from my subscribers too, where people are saying the more that you see Joe Biden messing up, the more you see Jill Biden, his wife, right next to him. Have you seen that clip where she's like, "Good job, Joe. Good job. Good job. Good job." You seen the clip where Obama's kind of walking him off the stage? Some people are saying elder abuse. Some people are saying Joe Biden should have a drug test. Because 1 minute he's flubbing his words, the next minute he's screaming and excited and happy. And that's the old Joe Biden. But when you're seeing this, and I've talked to people who have had relatives, they talk about Joe Biden and his age. And maybe it has to do with his age, maybe it has to do with his mental capabilities. Sometimes you can be young and have mental capabilities. But how often do you bounce back from what you see? There's a different Joe Biden now than it was 4 years ago. You ask Kamala Harris, she denies it. She says, we're not talking about that. We're looking at where we don't want to go, which is the other direction of Donald Trump. And when a lot of people are saying Joe's about as vigorous as he's ever been, our eyes are seeing this. Media's now panicking. Everybody's saying we have got to do something. So what if there was a rally and Joe forgot to come? Oh my God. That would be kind of embarrassing, wouldn't it? Yes, it really would. Man, think about that. If there was a rally and Joe forgot to come, or if there was a rally for the Democratic Party and we don't know who that person is. So today, we're going to talk. We're going to discuss realities. What would happen if Joe Biden decided not to run? How would you feel about that? What would happen if he decided to leave the race? So Obama's talking to him, Bill Clinton's talking to him. I don't think the Bushes are. His son's talking to him. Jill's talking to him, and she wore an outfit that said vote. So I don't think that she's going to want to get him out. I think she loves the power too much. And power corrupts absolute power. But what if somebody came to him and said, Joe, you have to do this for the country. You have to bow out. Well, people say if he bows out, there's going to be chaos. well, you know what? There was chaos January 6th. There was chaos when I guess Nixon retired. There's been chaos for a lot of things that happen, and that's part of life. Life is full of chaos. We just have to deal with it. And as some politicians say, we are the United States of America. So let's think about this reality. What would happen if Biden decided to leave the race? So it wouldn't be an easy process because he's already the presidential nominee and he's the choice of the primary voters. He's had no opposition, really. So if he leaves the race, who would take his place? So David Axelrod, who worked with Obama, and whatever David says, you kind of feel Obama feels too. Axelrod says this isn't the 60s. Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee. So no matter what, this is what he says after that debate performance. So now let's talk about the current primary system. People vote. And people vote for who they want. So something that happened is similar when there was confusion as far as if this nominee would make the presidential convention and run was Herbert Hoover. This is 1968. So even after President Johnson, he bowed out the presidential race that year. So he was president, Lyndon Johnson, and he says, I'm not going to do it anymore. He recognized, listen to this, Biden, his fading popularity in opposition to the war in Vietnam. So the person that took his place was Humphrey. Vice President Humphrey, he represented a continuation of Johnson's Vietnam parties and policy at the convention. So the president bowing out, vice president saying, I want to be that person that takes that spot. I still have some of the same values. So when people say Kamala or Kamala, she can't be the front runner. Well, you know what? If she believes the same thing as President Biden, she can. People were upset though. Violence broke out when protesters, they clashed with police as Humphrey accepted the nomination. So you wonder, if Biden gives it up and VP Harris says, I'm going to take the mantle, is there going to be violence? I mean, really? We know it's not going to be from the Republican Party, but is it going to be violence? And if she does take up the mantle, the biggest thing is, will she have an opportunity to beat Trump? Will she get the black voters? Will she get the women voters? Some people say her poll ratings are lower than even Biden's. But then can you take that away from somebody? If they're VP, can you take that away when the president drops out? Wouldn't she automatically become president? Not so easy. So this is going to take place, the convention in Chicago. But back then in 68, where everything was crazy, where the president back then said, I'm going to give it up, it also took place in Chicago. Wow. But interesting also, that's also President Obama's hometown. So here's a scenario. If the leading candidate was to drop out of the campaign after most primaries or even during the convention, individual delegates, we hear about this, would need to select the party's nominee on the convention floor or potentially doing a virtual roll call. So they will call out and say, okay, who do we want to be this nominee? And the delegates will vote this. So the Democratic Party, because they're on a deadline of June 22nd for states to select the more than 3,900 delegates. So these 3,900 delegates will be the ones that vote. And almost all of them have pledged to Biden. So that's interesting. So the delegates have already pledged to Biden. So is it kind of up to Biden to say, you know what, I'm not going to run, but I want all you delegates that voted for me to support Kamala or Kamala? What happens if they decide not to? So they're not just also pledged to vote for Biden. They've approved his campaign. So now, while a majority, think about this, most of the delegates could decide to pick a new nominee, kind of like, you know, we're going to go against Biden. Doing so will require massive defections from the people that are supporting Biden, because you're going to have a lot supporting Biden. But if these people say, you know what, we don't agree with VP Harris as far as being our president, we're going to go against some of Biden's own supporters. So the ones that would have to vote for somebody else would be Biden backers. Republicans have nothing to do with this whatsoever. So who could replace Biden? You think about this. We say, really, should be Vice President Kamala Harris. She'd be a top contender, but she wouldn't be an absolute 100% pick, which is funny, because the Democrats are going to want to decide, again, can we pick somebody? Is she viable to go against Trump? Some have pushed Governor Newsom and California Governor Newsom, and he's also pushed himself. But supposedly he's one of the worst governors across the country. California rates are high, housing's high, inflation's high. Why would you put him to be a president of the United States? But he's pushing himself out there, because if you notice, after that debate, he was all over the place saying he supports Biden. But is he saying this because he wants to get his name out there? Some people like him, most people don't. So then you have politicians who are pushing themselves to replace Biden, and they would also go up against Ms. Harris, the vice president. But then you also have these super delegates. We talked about the regular delegates, which are almost 4,000, but then you have super delegates. And these are a group of about 700 senior party leaders and elected officials who are automatically delegated to the convention based on their position. So they have their position, which is a little bit over the delegates. These are super delegates. So if there's a pack among them, they could pick and choose anybody who they want to be their nominee to place Biden. So under normal rules, if you go under normal rules, they can't vote on the first ballot if they could swing a nomination, but they're free to vote on other ballots. So now what if a candidate left the race after the convention? Let's say that Biden has taken a nomination, but then he decides to leave after convention. What would it do then? That would really be crazy, because you have less time. And then if you're leaving afterwards, why didn't you leave before? So it's going to be a drastic time. They only have a couple months to pick their nominee. So how does this affect Republicans? It doesn't really affect Republicans, like I said. So Democrats and Republicans, they have different methods of dealing with this possibility. What if it happened to the Republicans? What if Donald Trump said, well, you know what? I just wanted to see if I'd get nominated. And then he drops out. Now, what are Republicans doing? So the running mate, whoever the running mate would be, supposedly from each side would have to step up. Donald Trump's running mate would have to now be considered the Republican candidate for president. So Republicans, if there's a vacancy on that side, the Republican National Committee can either reconvene the National Convention or select a new candidate itself. Okay. The Democrat Commission, which we're talking about now, after the party chair consults with Democratic governors and congressional leadership, then they decide to pick who would take the place. And as we talked with the running mate automatically be the president. You would think so, because in times of stress, if something happens to the president when you're in office, that vice president takes the place. But there's this report called the Congressional Research Service, and it's a memo, and it notes that if an incumbent president becomes incapacitated after winning the party's nomination, the 25th Amendment would elevate the vice president to the presidency. But party rules will determine who rises to become the party's nominee. So it's not that easy. I mean, technically, if you're a vice president, something happens to the president, you become the president. But it all depends on the party rules. So it's not that easy. So neither party requires that the presidential candidate's running mate be elevated to the top of the ticket, even though that's common sense. But that would likely be the scenario. So in this case, again, I keep stressing, Vice President Harris, if Biden leaves, should be considered the president nominee. But there's a lot of people that wouldn't like that and would try to change the rules. So now let's think about that. Has a person ever left the race after the convention? Has a candidate ever left the race after the convention? They got the nomination and now they say, I want to leave. So in modern times, listen to the story now. The Democrat running for vice president in 1972, Senator Thomas Eagleton, never heard of him, he was forced to step aside after the convention, after it was discovered that he was treated, not for drugs, but for mental illness. This is back in 1972, very different time. So because he had a mental illness problem, they told him to step down. Wow, I don't think they would do that today. So the Democratic Party had to convene a meeting to put Sergeant Shriver, I know some people might have heard of him, as Democratic nominee George McGovern's second choice for running mate. So because the other guy had a mental illness situation, they decided to put somebody else as a running mate. And did they win? No. So what was the point? Because they needed somebody to run. Kind of like this scenario. If Trump is in numbers winning so far, then why even have somebody in the Democratic Party run when you know you can't beat him? So now what if a president-elect was incapacitated after the election? So what if something happened after that person became president? If a president-elect was to die, timing is again important. So listen to this. Under the Constitution, it is electors meeting in state capitals who technically cast votes for the presidency. So it's the electors that pick the presidency. While some states require that they vote for the winner of the election in their state, in other states they have leeway. So several congressional hearings on the subject suggest it would clearly make sense for a vice president-elect to simply assume the role if something happens to the president. As I said, common sense. If something happens to the president, you think the vice president would win. Confusing to you? Because we're breaking it down. What would happen if President Biden decided to drop out? Again, what if a president was incapacitated after the election? It would clearly make sense to put the vice president in charge. But under the 20th Amendment, if a president-elect dies, his or her running mate, listen to this, the vice president-elect becomes president. So there we have it. If something happens to the president, the vice president will be put in office. But there's a but. Some questions. Still, this always a loophole. If the electors meet in December before January 6th, when the president, whoever it is, gets involved, or after Congress meets to count electoral votes on December 6th, that is when the president elect, who originally was vice president, will become president. Are you confused? Well, you should be. So, to make it easier, hopefully Joe Biden won't decide to drop out. But if he does, we've got a lot of work to do. So you're watching, Keeping It Honest with yours truly, Anthony Parker Alexander. You have any questions or comments? You can email yours truly, parkerman2011@gmail.com, parkerman2011@gmail.com. Picked up the keyboard, did a little typing while we took a break for a second. And now on to this part. Okay. Democratic Party is going through a lot of panic right now. I just gave the different scenarios, so let's see what they're talking about. Joe Biden talked to his family. His family has said that they want him to stay and run. They don't want him out the running yet. But they are looking at possible replacements. So if this happens, a lot of people, they want to be on the down low. They don't want to talk about this. They want to use their names, but they're saying it would be a Category 5 hurricane. People don't understand the sheer destruction that would be unleashed. I mean, really, is it going to be sheer destruction? I mean, a guy decides to leave his job, president, and they have to search for a replacement. So they try to search for the best person. But they're dealing with Joe Biden dropping out, Kamala Harris nomination, possibly, a nomination of someone else besides Kamala would be devastating, maybe, because they're saying, you know what, you're vice president, but you're not good enough. Race relation-wise, you're getting rid of a Black presidential candidate, maybe the first Black woman who has a great opportunity to be president, and you're saying, no, we don't want you because you're not the best candidate to win. Who would be up in arms? Women, Black women, African Americans. I myself don't believe that it would be as hard as people think if Kamala was pushed aside. I'm not saying it personally, but if she was pushed aside, how many people in the Black community would be upset? I don't think that many. Only until it happens. How many people are keeping up with the vice president and what she does anyway that's in the Black community? I don't think a lot. So she may be upset, but I don't think the community will be upset. I think if you do get somebody that's not Kamala, yeah, that's wrong because she's VP, but you have to look at what's best for the country. Some people even saying that don't have Kamala and don't have Biden and just get new people. Some are saying, and you'll be surprised at some of the stuff that I'm seeing here. This poll that was taken, CBS found only 55% of registered Democrats, they say both Biden should continue running. So 55%, while 45 say he should step aside. So you've almost got half the country that are saying that. So if half the country's saying this, then they're open to what's going to be better. One anonymous source says, I think we can absolutely swap and win. If Joe Biden's the nominee, we're all in. If someone else is a nominee, we're all in. But then where does that leave the vice president right now? It seems like out of anybody, the two people that will get hurt will be Joe Biden and will be the vice president, because she's totally been ignored. Some people are saying, okay, make a deal, backwards deal, or backdoor deal where maybe you give her a position, attorney general, because her background is in the law. Give her attorney general position, she could do her own thing, and then you get maybe a Michelle Obama, or you get Barack Obama. You don't get Gavin Newsom. Or you get Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton running against Donald Trump again. Wow, you talk about a rematch. Man, now would she bring people back to the table? I don't know, she might. She might bring that political party back, but then it's the Clinton party again. Wow. So this was interesting. When people are running for office, they have fundraisers. And after that debate, Biden's numbers went up considerably. People are looking at this too, because Jill Biden has really been pushing this. You see more of Jill Biden now than you ever have. Some people love her. Some people are starting not to like her. I'm becoming not a fan, because I'm like, okay, you see Joe and you see what he's doing. He's making these mistakes. Aren't you like, honey? Because you care. Maybe it's time to step down. We know it's an uncomfortable thing. Unfortunately, sometimes life is uncomfortable. But she's just pushing him. She doesn't see anything wrong with him. Where our eyes are seeing this, the media is seeing this. Van Jones is crying on CNN because he's seeing it. He says he loves that man. How many people love Joe Biden? They don't want to see him health-wise. Nothing happened to him. And if he's in the age now where he's declining because he's working too hard in his mental status, unfortunately, that's life, then maybe take that time and enjoy life for the rest of your life, for the good of the country. Are you being selfish? Because other countries are watching. And I said, most countries who are enemies of the United States, they probably want Joe Biden to stay because he looks weak. Because they know they have Donald Trump and he's coming after everybody. So why wouldn't you want Joe Biden to stay in office? So some of the people, here's a list of people that people aren't really talking about that are maybe thinking about running, or the Democratic Party has in their pocket just in case. So Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Whitmer, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, California Governor Gavin Newsom, no. Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, I've heard of him. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock, he won't win. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, he ran before, he won't win. And even relatively new Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Maryland Governor Wes Moore. So none of these people have gone public with saying that they want to run. They supported Biden. Because if they don't support Biden, they'll be called traitors. Like, people are going to say too many things about Trump now, Republicans, because they know if he gets in office, he's coming after them. So people love Joe Biden. And what do? The one thing I don't like is when some of the politicians who are kissing Joe Biden's behind and they don't see nothing wrong stand up for Joe instead of being real and saying, well, you know, Joe's been slow and maybe it's time. Barack Obama is choosing his words carefully. And, you know, some people say that this was the third term of Barack Obama, because remember, he did say, if I ran for president again, the only time I do that is if I could, you know, kind of like be at my home, I'm paraphrasing, and could kind of phone it in and get things done. So he's kind of being at home and kind of advising Joe Biden. Wow. So this technically is his third term. So the thing I don't like I said, how some of these politicians are saying, House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, he had a fundraiser for Democrats. He said Biden has the values that reflect the best in America. Yeah, but don't a lot of people who are younger and more energetic and maybe seem like they could do it for not just one term, but 2 terms? And we know if Biden gets in, it'll be 2 terms, but will he be able to last for 2 terms? Hakeem also says that politics is a team sport. I don't really think it's a team sport. I've run for Congress and other positions, and it's every person for themselves. But he says the president is a captain. He added that getting Jeffries to be speaker is probably the most important thing that Biden has ever done. And that might be one of the most important things. So Biden's campaign, they say he's not going to drop out. And they say, and this is a person that is off the record, you win elections by bringing everyone under one banner. If the imperative to you is winning, the best chance we have to do it is a guy who has been in the White House, has a historic record of accomplishments, and has already beaten Donald Trump. That's the person you pick. But if that person isn't up to the job and it's a team sport, then you got to go for the team. You can't think of yourself. So it's going to go down to what's best for America. Donna Brazile, she was a Democratic campaign person. She was the chairperson of the Democratic National Committee, and now she's a media person on This Week on ABC News. She was talking about how she has all the calls and everything. So she kind of knows too. She's been getting a lot of calls. She won't say that she wants him to step down because she's still trying to keep it out there. She's probably going to wait till everybody else says it. But she was also Hillary Clinton supporter. And she probably would like Hillary to come in. And nobody's heard about what Hillary's doing. Is she thinking about running now? Just in case, you're going to see so many people. But they're saying they're committed to Biden. But when is that going to end? It's got to be sometime soon. So this one other person said, and this is New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, a Democrat. He was thinking about running in 2024, 2028 now. How many people put off running? Think about this. 2024 and said they're going to run in 2028. Are some of them saying, you know what, maybe now is the time? So Murphy says there are very few people who can span the broad interests of our beloved Democratic Party in the same way that he can. And he's proven that. That's why he's our president. That's not a prospective, hey, I think he could do this. Not sure who else can do that. Really. Biden. Is he the best person for the job? Out of everybody out there that could have run, this could be a take two to give people who didn't run or were scared or said we're going to respect Biden. If Biden says he's out, are there going to be other people running? Meanwhile, you've got Vice President Harris right there, running neck and neck with Joe. And as soon as he drops out, is she going to fall out? Why you should vote for Harris. He had this convention. He had this delegates. All of the delegates have backed Biden. Right then and there, all Biden has to say, and it's not really up to him, it's good if he says it, support Harris. If he says it, then they might do it. Because you don't have a lot of time left. Think about this in this campaign. Republicans already got their person running, Trump. So if you got Harris right here, and if you don't support Harris, you support other people, they're way down here. Fundraising, let's think about that. The money has already gone for Biden fundraising. All they got to do is ship that money to Harris, try to get her out there, try to make her look positive. She has a better chance than bringing somebody else up. Unless Michelle or Barack, we know it can't be Gavin Newsom. But no matter what, if they're going to be behind when and if Joe Biden decides to drop out, they've got to make sure that they catch up real quick. And on paper, the best way to catch up is to put the vice president and then vote for her, support her to be the president. Because then you've already got the money, you've already got the delegates. If you got to go look for somebody new and exciting, you got to get the money and you got to get the delegates. Or if you got somebody established, you got to get the money, you still got to get the delegates, but maybe because they're so excited and they excite America that it might be an easy thing. But then you're doing all this, and let's say you still can't win, then what was the purpose for it? Basically, what you would have to do, Vice President Harris, you have to recreate yourself. You got to stop the laughing. You got to stop, almost like what I'm doing, talking gibberish at some point, and make the American people understand you. You need to hit that road like you've never had before. You need to hit that road like you were running for president. Oh, wait a minute. You did run for president. And that didn't work out so good. And the interesting thing is, you became the VP after you dogged Biden when you ran up against him. When you pretty much said, as far as the segregation, you were on the bus. You were one of those kids on the bus throughout the segregation. And he picked you. But did he pick you because he wanted to be the first one to pick an African American for vice president and to get those votes? Like Barack Obama picked an older person, a middle-aged person who knew the politics of politicians, and he was able to win. That you pick Miss Harris because she was African American. You did promise you'd pick an African American to be in your office, but that you pick her knowing that you're going to get that vote. So, Michelle Obama, is she going to run? Would they get her to run? She said she doesn't like politics. Barack Obama, would he come back? We know Bill Clinton won't. Hillary Clinton, will she come back? When they talk about what's for the good for this country, I'm talking to you Democrats out there. If you know that Donald Trump is out here, right here, and he's going to crush the Democratic Party, do you tell Biden, hey man, we love you, you've had great service. It's not about you. We have to look at what's best for this country. So we're going to ask you to drop out. Kamala, we have to look out for what's best for this country. We don't think you'll have an even chance of beating Donald Trump. We're going to ask you to bow out. We'll again make you Attorney General. Barack, you were good for us 2 terms. We need that hope and change again. We think if you come back, you will invigorate the world. You had 2 terms too. We think you are the best option to beat Donald Trump. We know you don't want to do it, but look, we give you a deal. You do it. We will back you in pretty much everything that you want because you'll get us back in power. We'll give you your VP. We'll help you with any kind of issue that you want passed. Maybe we'll even give you more vacation days. But we want you that bad. It's not about you. It's for your country. Give us just 4 more years. 4 more years. And if he says no, Michelle, I know you don't like politics, but the country, the world looks up to you. We know that you would be great for America. All we want for you is 4 more years. We could have your husband help out. He'll be in your ear. I know you don't like it, but Hillary ran. And she became respected in some ways, but we know people respect you. So please, 4 years will give you any and everything you want. Again, your VP that you want issues. We have all our top advisors in your ear. Something to think about. It's not about you. It's for your country. So those are my top ones. And if we don't get those, then who do we go after? Like I said, we don't go after Gavin Newsom. No, we don't go after. Nobody's going to really ask him. Who do we go after? Who would you like to see? And at the end of the day, unfortunately, Kamala is ignored. And the one reason I think, because she's ignoring what's happening with the president. When she was being interviewed by Anderson Cooper, and Anderson Cooper asked her questions about, well, you know what, you ran against Joe Biden 4 years ago. How's he changed? And she has said, I am not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance. And now, because of that, Joe Biden has kind of picked up on that too. And I didn't know that Joe Biden's not really a fan, supposedly, of Vice President Kamala. So wow. So maybe she doesn't want really the vice president to be president because her husband would have to give that up. And speaking of her husband, as I said, I think she just loves that power. Like I said, you look at her on TV, she has a dress that says vote. And that was at the rally, which took place not too long after that. It was the day after the debate. And he looked so good and so strong. But she's standing there. I've never seen a vice president so vocal. President's wife so vocal as she was. You think she was running. So do you go with the new people who might run? Do you go with some of the old guard? Like I said, Buttigieg, he doesn't have a chance. Mark Kelly doesn't have a chance. And I'm looking on here, Raphael Warnock doesn't have a chance. He'd be VP. And I can't really think of anybody right now. So let me know, who do you think of? And I hate saying this because, we're ignoring Vice President Harris. But the reality is, well, we don't know if President Biden will last another 4 years in office. We don't know that. That's the reality of it. So we have to face that. And we don't know if America's ready for Vice President Harris. So we're going to put it out there. Who would you like to see? Who would be ready to come back or come? Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton. Those are your three choices who have been established already. Buttigieg would probably be a good vice president no matter what. So it's either we stick with Joe Biden and we stick with him, and he becomes the president for second term, but will he still be in office 4 years from now? Or we have Donald Trump, who we know ain't going anywhere once he's in office. Either way, either which world we go to, it's going to be a different world. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed our perspective on this. We just kept it simple, kept it real, kept it honest. You can contact me, text me, leave me a voicemail, 216-702-3718, 216-702-3718. Don't forget to hit the like, and share and subscribe button. We thank you for supporting us. And you can email yours truly, parkerman2011 at gmail.com, parkerman2011 at gmail.com. We put things in a Parker twist. We shook it up. Let's continue to shake it up these next couple of months. We don't have a lot of time. It's going to be a different world. And no matter what, it might be a different presidency. And again, the ones that are going to be affected the most is Kamala, because she seems to be on the sideline. But if she wants to make an impact, then she's better start getting herself out there now and recreating herself. But for that to happen, Joe Biden would have to step down. And in a perfect world, he won't. Or in a perfect world, he will still be president. But rest assured, Democrats, you knew that this was coming a long time ago. You knew that President Biden was having problems. He didn't want to talk about it. The mainstream media didn't want to talk about it. And you're still ignoring the fact. Yeah, he wasn't good in the one debate, but he was good, though, at the rally. But it's up to the voters to find out if he's still the man for the job. So stay tuned. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, consistent. He's still there. He's showing, I'm going to get in office, and when I do, it's going to change. So what are the options? And then do you go third party? Does third party have a chance? No, it does not. I'm just letting you know that now. They don't have a chance, but anything could happen. So I'm just keeping it honest. Let me know what you think too. Keep your head up. Never look down. Always believe in yourself, and therein will lie your answer. I'm Anthony Parker. We will talk again. We don't just keep it simple. We don't just keep it real. We keep it honest. I'm Anthony Parker Alexander. God bless. And God bless America.